Hi everyone, this is Ms. Zahra and this is the last video that we will be using to review for the science exam. Just a reminder, there will be 15 multiple choice questions and 5 written response questions. From this lesson, 2 questions will be written response and there will be 4 multiple choice questions. Okay, they will come from page 78, 79, 80, 81 and 83. Okay, so let's first discuss these pages, page 78, 79, 80 and 81. Okay, so the first thing we need to understand is the concept of the word reflection. So what is reflection? Reflection is when light bounces. You can see that in the picture. Okay, I'm not really sure why my writing is coming out so badly. I'll try that again. Okay, so reflection is the bouncing of light. Okay, so when light bounces off a surface, we call it reflection. So reflection happens when the light bounces off the surface. If I have to draw a line going down from the middle, we call this dotted line the normal, and the angle that is found over here and the angle on the other side are equal. So if this side is 10, the other side will also be 10. If the one side is 20, the other side will also be 20. And this is known as the law of reflection. Okay, so it's a law, that means it just happens. When light bounces from a surface, the angle it makes on the one side will be equal to the angle that it reflects off, it bounces off. Okay, so please remember the word reflection, the l, I in the middle, reflection, bouncing light. When the light bounces off surfaces, like here, you can see, when we look at a mirror as well, the light bounces off, and in the mirror, or inside of something very shiny, it forms a picture. This picture that is formed is called an image. So when light reflects, when it bounces off a surface, it makes an image, a picture. So now let's talk about why, if we see because of light bouncing, reflecting, that's what lets us see, how is it that some things we can see ourselves in, we can see an image like this over here, but other things we cannot see an image, like this picture, right? We don't see an image. The reason is because of the surface, the top of the thing it's made of. If it's very smooth, it's very straight, it's not bumpy, most of the light when it bounces off will bounce in the same direction. And this makes you see the picture inside of the image. Inside of the surface. So it lets you see the picture in the surface, and that picture is called an image. But when the surface is bumpy, like the second one, as it reflects, it still follows the law of reflection. We can see over here that the angles are the same, but one side is bumping this way, another one is bumping the other way. It's bouncing in all different directions. And because it bounces in all different directions, you do not get the image inside of the object. So it's kind of dull and you don't really see it very well. So if something is very shiny and smooth, you will see an image. Okay, if it's shiny and smooth, you will see more of the image. But if something is dull or if it's bumpy, you will not see so much inside of it. It will just be maybe the color that you see, but you will not see yourself in it. You will not really see an image in it. Okay, so these are about the word reflection. Okay, so just a reminder, reflection, bouncing light. the angle before and after the light bounces is equal. When it bounces, it makes an image. If something is very smooth and shiny, it will make a clear image. If it's dull or bumpy, it will not make a very clear image. Mirrors are very shiny objects, and they reflect most of the light that we see. So when we see the image in the mirror, it's because most of the light is bouncing back at us. But have you ever noticed that some mirrors have a curved shape? They are not straight. They go to the side. And the reason for this is because when we bend our mirror this way, we make a convex shape. We'll speak more about this word a little later. So when we bend it outwards to make a convex shape, we can collect more light from different angles. Okay, and this lets us see a wider image. So a wider image, more than you should be seeing, is formed in the small mirror. So more of the image forms in a smaller space. And this lets us see more. So we use this to see maybe around a corner. Maybe you've seen these mirrors on street poles or on a car. And this lets you see a lot more behind you than you would have seen on your own, with your own eye or with a regular mirror. Okay, so it collects more information, more light as you will, and we call it a convex mirror. Okay, so that's all for the word reflection. Now let's write that word again, reflection. Okay, if we look at this word reflection, and if I take this L over here, and I bend the L, and I turn it into an R, now I get a bent word, R, refraction. Refraction is when light bends. It is the bending of light. So when light bends, we call this refraction. Light bends because as it moves from one thing into something else, some things like glass, for example, or water, and air are made of different particles that are joined together differently. Some things are very close and some things are far. And so as the light is moving through these things, light changes its speed. So the light can slow down or start to move faster. And when this happens, when it changes its speed, it bends. So light bends because its speed changes as it moves from one thing into another. And this is known as refraction. So please look in the middle of that word, refraction with the R-A, bending light. Reflection with the L, bouncing light. Okay, so when light bends, it's because it's moving through something. It moves through something that is clear. So now we're going to talk about something called lenses. A lens is a clear piece of glass. So over here you can see some clear pieces of glass. Some are flat, some have a shape that maybe goes out or in. And these lenses have names. So a lens is a clear piece of glass that light moves through. Remember, as it's moving through here, it's going to bend, which we call refraction. So over here we can see three pieces of glass and how the light bends differently in these three pieces. So in all of the pictures we can see refraction because light is bending as its speed is changing. In the first picture we can see that this is very flat. You can see the straight, sorry, I'm trying to make lovely straight lines, but it's just not working for me today. Okay, so we can see these straight lines that kind of look like the letter L. So think in the word flat. For the letter L, it's nice and straight. So this straight piece of glass, like we get on a window, Light slows down as it's moving through it, but if you look over here before and after, you will notice the direction does not change. So in flat glass, because the light slows down in the glass but starts to move faster again out of the glass, because it does this, it doesn't change anything from what you see. What you see before the glass and what you will see after the glass is exactly the same. In the second picture, you can see that it's making kind of like a C shape, and that C is for concave. So again, look in the middle of the word for that C. Concave lenses, they spread the light out. They cause the light to spread out. So when they bend the light, they move it out in all directions outwards, right? So light goes in and it will bend and move out. The last one, convex, remember to look for that V shape inside of our picture. Convex lenses, they bend the light in, and this point where they cross over, we call it the focus point. So it bends the light in, and when it does this, the light comes together at a focus point, and then it will move on after that focus point. So let's talk about why we use these mirrors, and maybe I hope you remember we saw them in our class and what they do to different images. So the first lens, the concave lens, that looks like the C shape, it's used to help people who can't see things that are far away. So people that can see things that are near, but they can't see things that are far, this type of lens helps them. So what it does, if you remember when we looked at it, it makes things look smaller. So if something is very big, it makes it look smaller. It makes the image smaller, and it brings it closer to the back of your eye. We will discuss how our eyes see in a little while, and hopefully that will help you to understand how it works. Okay, so this type of lens, the concave lens, makes something look smaller, so it helps you to see things that are far away, and if you can't see very well far, it brings it closer to you, okay? So when people wear eyeglasses like this, and in the picture, if it's an eyeglass used to see something far, if you can see close to you but you cannot see far, then the shape is concave with the C. Then you get people who can see far, but they can't see close. It usually happens as you get older, and these people use the convex lens, the one that makes the V shape. And the convex lens, well, we also use this in a magnifying glass. Convex lenses, we looked at them in class, and we saw that when we hold it close to something, it makes something look bigger. But when we move it further away, it does something interesting. It flips the image around and it makes it smaller. Okay, so this convex lens helps you to see closer, and it's the lens that we find in our eye. So inside of your eye, you have a lens. This is how the lens looks, and you can see that shape is a V shape. Convex. It's not outside of our eye, obviously. We've just brought this out to show you how it looks, right? So it's found over here in this portion of your eye. And what it does is it takes the image, it takes what we see of the bug, and it flips it and makes it smaller so that it can reach the back of your eye. So it refracts the light. It bends the light so it can reach the retina, the back of your eye. And this is the part of your eye that takes that image that's upside down, sends it to your brain via the optic nerve, and that is then your brain will then take that message and it flips it back around and lets you see. And it happens instantly. It's so amazing. Okay, so our eye has different parts. We've mentioned 3 of them, but now we're going to look at all of them using the picture from our book. Okay, so remember that you will get one writing question as well about this page. So let's go over the different parts of the eye and how they work. So number one, light enters the eye through the cornea. The cornea is clear. Another word we can use for that is transparent. And that is so that light can pass through it. After the light passes through the cornea, it then moves through the pupil. The pupil is the hole in the eye. It's the part that's black. Okay, it's just a hole. Behind the pupil, we get the lens. The lens refracts or bends the light, right? It bends it and it focuses it onto the back of the eye. The back of the eye is called the retina. The retina takes this information and it then sends it to the brain. So the retina receives an upside down image. It is not the right way up, it is upside down. And that is then sent to the brain via the optic nerve, and your brain will then interpret this information. Okay, so please remember the order that it moves through the eye and what each part of the eye is responsible for. If a person cannot see clearly and they need to wear eyeglasses, this is because the lens is not focusing the light properly on the back of the eye. And either they need to use a concave or a convex lens in order to see clearly. The iris is the part of the eye that has color. The light does not go through this piece. It's just the colored piece of the eye. It doesn't do anything with light, okay? And the cornea, the outside of the eye, it's clear. But if it gets scratched, it will make your vision blurry because you will not be able to see very well through it. Okay, so here are some examples of the questions you may get. Please make sure that you pause it and review them. Now let's talk about the three materials that light can move through or not move through. And these are transparent, translucent, and opaque. Again, this will be a writing question. The first material in the first picture, A, this is transparent. A transparent material, just like your cornea, allows all the light to pass through. It lets all the light through. Frosted plastic, or things that look a little blurry, these let some light go through. So they scatter the light. Only some light goes through it. Okay? And this is called translucent because only some light goes through it. Then we get things that are opaque. Opaque, like wood or the wall, something you cannot see through. They block all the light. They stop the light from going through. Okay? So no light goes through these. Okay? Please learn the names of these three types of materials. The last thing we're going to review is how animals use their eyes to see. Okay, so different animals have eyes in different positions on their head. For example, a frog has eyes on the top of its head. Fish has eyes on the side of its head. And a chameleon, well, it can move its eyes in all different directions. So let's talk about why the eyes of the animals are in different places and how it helps the animal. So over here we have a picture of predator. The predator is an animal that hunts other animals. It is a hunter. Then we have the prey. The prey is the animal it eats. So predator is the hunter. It needs to be able to judge distance. It needs to know how far something is so it can catch it. Okay? For the prey wants to escape. It needs help to protect itself. So it wants to see all around it. Why? Because it's looking for danger. Then we have fish. The fish has something special that helps it to see underwater. Flies and bees have compound eyes. Compound eyes help them to see all around. in all directions because they are actually made up of thousands of little eyes. All these little things over here are eyes. So there's like thousands of eyes that make up compound eyes. Okay, an owl can see in low light. So it can see in the dark. When there's very little light, owl's eyes can see the best. And an eagle's eye, it can zoom in. It can see something from far away. Even though it's similar to a human's eye in shape and structure, an eagle's eye has something in it that helps it to see very far away. Okay, so these are the main concepts for this lesson. Please scan this code and give our questions a try. Remember that all these videos just give us suggestions for questions. Please make sure you study all the pages that are mentioned and go through all the review material, and good luck. Okay, you can do this.